have my second published book, I think it was. Doesn't really matter which number it was. And this morning, I am going to be reading a short story by one of my alter egos, created characters, a woman of indeterminate age and voracious appetite, shall we say, named Emmerdale Winceyette. And she has just created and had published a phenomenally successful book called Swan Sex. And so she's very, very happy about that, as you can probably imagine. The mating habits of swans, producing beautiful cygnets and all the rest of it. Lovely nature book, as you might say, with maybe a bit of double entendre there as well. So she goes on this chat show, and the short story is all about what happens then. Okay, here we go. You've won. The unctuous voice at the other end revealed muted enthusiasm. For him, with his shelves full of his published books, this was old hat. His mantelpieces bend under the weight of awards, Booker included. He is famous, lauded, lionized. I, however, am not, and this public recognition of my private moments has been precious, oh, so precious. I have been called many things in my time, some unrepeatable, some so funny I shriek, wail, and writhe with laughter. But the reviews of Swan Sex have been phenomenal. Even I, wordsmith though I undoubtedly am, would struggle to achieve such perfection of syntax, so fine a flow of language, and so rich a vocabulary. Admittedly, some of the tabloids managed to insert a wholly unnecessary level of sleaze into the proceedings, with such tiresome versiflage as lucky old leader, and even worse, leader us to satisfaction Zeus. But you have to take with the rough with the smooth, I say. And frankly, those assuming I was encouraging some form of miscegenation need to get out more. The most sensual, poetic writer of the teens was rather more like it, though I did take issue with the use of the word teens, as I felt it gave entirely the wrong impression of my oeuvre, and I should imagine caused a few dropped jaws in school libraries throughout the land, especially pages 23 to 29, which caused one reviewer to write, "Can this actually be done? And if so, can I have the young lady's number?" 66 to 113, longer than the act itself, as one snarky reviewer put it, and the final chapter. The suggestion made by some that the whole thing is an extended metaphor or an elaborate fantasy has been most amusing. Do you really think I could have made up the sequence with the kumquats, the bicycle seat, and the small marmoset? I know I am inventive, but really? Be that as it may, I was delighted with the rather more sensitive responses, particularly the one written by a well-known poet, which consisted of a very fine sonnet. The televisual experience was, quite honestly, ghastly. That raddled old bag Minerva Strumpet was quite clearly 3 sheets to the wind, as they say, and fell over twice as we walked onto the set, taking a rather nice hanging basket with her the second time. Her diction was all but incomprehensible, and I found her habit of referring to my multi-hued heroine as tit somewhat insulting. Perhaps one should be charitable and posit the suggestion that in her state of advanced inebriation, the 4 syllables of Titania were quite simply a linguistic bridge too far. But I still felt that the way she hoiked up her own withered dugs and leered suggestively at the camera whenever she said the word was completely unnecessary and really jolly insulting. I did not feel that she was taking my novel seriously at all. I also took exception in the strongest terms to the trio of plastic swans which, tacked to the wall behind me, appeared to be doing something revolting and in all probability illegal to one another. I do hope that this somewhat toxic publicity might open the doors to more salubrious events. An invitation to appear on QI, for example, would not go amiss. Its main person has always been very much a man after my own heart. Shame he bats for the other side. But you can't have everything in this life, and I think he and I would get on like a mansion on fire. Variations of the same question have been asked over and over since I heard the wonderful news. How am I going to celebrate? Ms. Strumpet actually had the effrontery to say, will you just be swanning around? No, of course I won't. What an asinine, impertinent suggestion. Now, let me share the itinerary with you. A boat trip down the Nile, death not included, I sincerely hope, followed by a leisurely sortie through pyramids great and small, soaking up the vibes, the dust, the ancient bat guano, and, with any luck, any pharaonic spectres which happen to be around. From there, we travel on the Great Wall of China and see those simply scrumptious, enormous warriors in their vast tomb. I'm all a tremble just thinking of them. I shall, of course, be drinking champagne by the quart and nibbling upon strawberries, caviar, and the finest chocolate, though not all at once, you understand. That would be silly. I shall then dive with porpoises in South Carolina, or possibly whales in wherever they happen to be at the time, my knowledge of precise geographical locations being some 40 years out of date. And if possible, ride upon the largest horse in the world, a stonking great brute, some 22 hands high. Not quite sure at this juncture how I'm going to get my leg over his broad withers. Several of the seedier rags have suggested that I should have extensive plastic surgery. Would you Adam and Eve it? Moi? Now, I would be the first to agree that I'm not as svelte as I could be, and that my facial physiognomy is ever more reminiscent of a weather map during a hurricane, but I do not agree with the scurrilous toad who made reference to my frontal pride and joys as knee ticklers, let alone the poisonous little ratbag who said, and I quote, Emmerdale Winceyette, my nom de plume, has all the sex appeal of overcooked tripe. Bet she couldn't write a Booker Prize-winning novel. The final part of my celebratory process involves the house. I shall come back to a tapas bar in the conservatory, a quartet of llamas in the paddock outside, a ha-ha in the front garden, and a Morris dancing team in the cellar. Best place for them, many would say. As for my sequel, stick with a winning formula, I say, and I'm already toying with such gems as The Amatory Albatross, Coming with a Condor, and following the hugely popular 101 Things to Do with a Dead Cat, playing around with 101 Ways of Avoiding a Sex-Crazed Rear. Watch this space. Farewell.